Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to kick off our session with today's topic, the art of tactical yielding. We'll explore how using the surrender tactic can actually turn perceived weakness into a powerful strategic advantage. This is Law 22 in our series. Over the next few slides, we'll dive into how this approach works and how you can apply it effectively in your own interactions. Let's get started. When you find yourself weaker in a situation, it's crucial to remember that fighting for honor isn't always the best move. Instead, I suggest choosing surrender. Surrender isn't about giving up. It's about gaining time. Time to recover, regroup, and even find ways to irritate or torment your opponent. It's a strategic move that allows you to wait for their power to diminish. By surrendering first, you deny them the satisfaction of defeating you outright. This approach aligns with the overall theme of strategic patience and understanding your true strength in challenging moments. Let's take a closer look at the oak and the reed. The reed, as you can see, has a different approach. It bends with the wind instead of fighting against it. This flexibility allows it to avoid breaking, even during the strongest storms. When the storm passes, the reed simply stands tall again, resilient and unbroken. What's important here is that surrender isn't a sign of weakness or cowardice. In fact, it can be the ultimate survival tool. By yielding at the right moments, we can outlast challenges and emerge stronger once the storm has settled. Now contrast this with the mighty oak. The oak fights the wind, standing rigid and proud. But when the storm becomes too intense, it snaps and dies. Its rigidity makes it vulnerable to the relentless force of nature. So the key takeaway is, sometimes, bending to survive is smarter than standing rigid and risking destruction. This idea ties directly into our overall theme of resilience. Adapting and knowing when to stand firm and when to yield is crucial for long-term success. So here, where things get really intense. Athens, surprisingly, did not care much for honor in this situation. They besieged the island of Melos, and their actions were brutal. They slaughtered the men and enslaved the women and children. It's a stark reminder that in wartime, sometimes the pursuit of power overrides notions of fairness or morality. The Melians, on the other hand, refused to surrender. They held on to their hope for divine aid and their sense of honor. But here, the key point, while their refusal might seem heroic, it ultimately led to their extinction. This highlights a harsh reality. In the face of overwhelming power, standing firm can sometimes mean complete destruction. Now, Melos was a small and weak island, which made it even more vulnerable. When Athens demanded tribute, the Melians chose to resist, believing that honor and hope for divine intervention might save them. But, as history shows us, their refusal to submit didn't protect them. Instead, it sealed their fate, illustrating the brutal nature of power dynamics and the tragic consequences of standing alone against a mighty opponent. This example underscores a central theme of our presentation: the tension between moral values like honor and the ruthless realities of political and military power. Sometimes, choosing the moral high ground can come at the highest cost. So, during the Red Scare, Bertolt Brecht was called before the HUAC, which was investigating alleged communist influences. Unlike some of his contemporaries who fought back or argued their innocence, Brecht chose a different approach. He surrendered, appearing very polite, wearing a suit, and giving answers that seemed compliant but actually didn't say much at all. His responses were confusing and appeared to be cooperative, but in reality, they were meant to frustrate the committee. This tactic allowed him to avoid immediate trouble and was quite strategic. Once he was released, he immediately fled to Europe to continue his work freely. This shows that Brecht, in a way, yielded to the pressures of the era to survive, but it was a calculated move. He did it to win in the long run. It's a fascinating contrast to other writers of the time who openly resisted the accusations, argued their innocence, and faced jail or worse. Brecht's story highlights the complex choices many had to make during this tense period, balancing self-preservation with their artistic integrity. It connects to the larger theme of how artists and writers navigated censorship and political pressure during the Red Scare. Let's explore the keys to power in this context. First, it's important to understand that time truly is your ally. When you choose to surrender, you're effectively buying yourself the time to rebuild, to find allies, and to wait patiently for your opponent to make a mistake. This is a strategic move. Patience can be a powerful weapon. Next, surrender might seem like giving up, but outwardly it is an act that can conceal your true intentions. Inside, you remain firm and resolute. Use this outward submission as a way to hide your real plans while you quietly strategize and prepare for your next move. Finally, remember that fighting when you're weak only hastens your defeat. By surrendering, you deny your enemy the victory they're craving. It's a way of denying battle altogether, shifting the fight on your terms, and turning what seems like weakness into a form of strategic strength. All of these points tie into the overall theme of using power wisely. Sometimes the strongest move is to know when to hold back and wait for the right moment. Let's talk about reversal and martyrdom. Remember, once you're dead, you can't enjoy the power you've created. Your influence stops with your life. Now, if your death can serve as a rallying cry, if it can inspire others to keep fighting, then fighting to the bitter end is often the right strategy. It amplifies your message and can turn your sacrifice into a powerful symbol. But there's a flip side. Surrendering, in many cases, is about survival. It's a strategic choice to keep your movement alive. However, if your goal is to truly inspire a larger movement, surrender can sometimes work against you. It might be seen as weakness or defeat, which could diminish your influence and the emotional impact of your sacrifice. So the key question is, when do you choose to fight, and when do you choose to surrender? It's about understanding your ultimate goal. Are you aiming to be a martyr and inspire through sacrifice? Or are you trying to preserve the movement for a longer-term impact? Knowing this helps you make the right strategic decision in the heat of the moment. And finally, I want to acknowledge the sources behind the images we've seen today. The first image, depicting the natural landscape, comes from Stockcake.com. You can see it here, capturing the raw beauty of rocks and flowing water. Moving on, the photograph of Bertolt Brecht is sourced from bombmagazine.org, highlighting the importance of influential figures in our cultural history. Then, we have an artwork of ancient warriors from FinardAmerica.com, which reminds us of the historical depth and storytelling through art. Next, an illustration by Gustave Doré from Meisterdruck. UK offers a glimpse into classic literary imagery, enriching our understanding of visual storytelling. Finally, the image of military sandbags and a white flag from isticphoto.com connects to themes of conflict, resilience, and hope. These sources are essential for giving credit and also for exploring the diverse ways images can enhance our narrative, tying everything back to the overall theme of visual storytelling and its power to communicate complex ideas across different contexts.